Hello, welcome to Living Arts. I'm your host, Jackie Suarez. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight we have another terrific show for you. We're going to be speaking to Jennifer Rojas and Sly Maldonado. They're the two stars of When the Dust Settles. It's a short film by Derek Wright. And I want to welcome you both to the show. Thank you for coming here today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
I've been looking forward to this because I really like the film a lot, and I'm just excited to talk about it and talk about your roles in the film as well.
Awesome.
So Jen, I'll start with you. Just give me an idea of, tell me about yourself.
Okay, so I moved to New York about 2 years ago to pursue acting, and I started studying. Originally, I started at Stella Adler Studio, and then I went for a 2-year program at William Esper Studio. And during the time, I actually got cast for this project halfway through my schooling, which was great because it was like all the techniques that we had been using up until that point, I was able to incorporate in the film and see how it actually plays out, aside from being a student.
So what was the whole program about? What were some of the classes and things that you had to take?
Yeah, so William Esper Studio concentrates on method acting, so it has to do a lot with putting yourself in a scenario that you maybe don't have any experience in. In this in particular, I've never murdered anyone per se. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would have to put yourself in this scenario and imagine how would you react, and how would you think, and how would you talk, and how would you speak, and whatnot. And so while I was studying, I put all these, like I said, I put all these techniques and these tools into use. In one scene in particular, where I find Sly that's cheating on me, I remember thinking well, what if I was pregnant in this point? What if I have to raise this child on my own? And that actually, the thought of maybe I'm pregnant and I would have to raise this child on my own got me to stand up and confront him in that bedroom scene.
Okay.
So things like that is what we studied.
So it was really, challenging for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It's especially because there's such a quick change in you see the character and I'm torn apart, I'm crying, and then suddenly I'm standing up and I'm pointing a gun at them, right? And I remember speaking to Derek about this. I was like, how does that happen? He was like, you got to remember, you're a lead detective. You don't have time for self-pity. You have to get into this mindset of well, this is happening, I need to act. And then that's kind of what helped me get into that. Well, I'm crying, but now I'm not so much crying, and now I'm holding a gun to your face.
Right, because a lot of people might not have jumped from being upset or angry to doing what your character did. And I guess this is a great way for us to just tell our audience about what the film is about. Why don't you tell us what the film is about?
Sure. So When the Dust Settles is a short film, a crime drama, and it takes place during 9/11. And so you see the opening scene, and it's a husband and a wife, and they kind of have this very tense relationship, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to give away. And so it takes place, like I said, during 9/11. Then I come back home and I find him in a very compromising situation scenario. And then from there, dramatic events kind of roll out.
Okay. Now, it's a great short film. It's gripping from the moment you start watching it to the end of it. I guess one of the main things that I took away from it when I was watching you was just that this could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody. And what you were going through in that moment. Was there anything about the character itself where you said to yourself that could be me?
The feeling of betrayal was definitely real, right? I put myself in a scenario of I loved, his name was Xavier in the film, and I remember writing down all the things that we had experienced together, and this is completely fictional, right? This is just the work that an artist does right before filming, and I really felt betrayed when we were filming. I don't know how far, maybe someone could get as far as threatening someone, but I'm not in the place where I can actually murder someone for that,
Right. So that part of it wasn't you.
It was hard. It was hard to portray. Yeah.
So what's it like at this point? Because I'm not totally unfamiliar with the whole acting scene and going on casting calls and things like that in New York City, but I'm certainly haven't done it in a long time.
Sure.
So give me an idea of what that, what is it like now to be doing that?
Yeah, so it's Sly and I were actually talking about this a little while ago. It's kind of like your own business, your own brand. You have to start putting yourself out there. One of the things that I worked on recently was just putting out my website, right? Because I want casting directors to know that I'm active. This is what I've done. These are the looks that I can create. So when I apply, I'm like, hey, you can write a cover letter, whether you're auditioning on Backstage, Actors Access, casting networks. They'll ask you to submit yourself, but also sometimes they'll ask for a cover letter. And recently, there was a role that was similar to this. So in my cover letter, I wrote something along the lines of hey, this is an awesome role. I really like the direction this is going. I've actually played a role similar to this. You can see stills of it, and you can see my reel on my website. Then I'll list my website and send that off, And sometimes you'll get, it's definitely a numbers game, right? Per 10, maybe you get one reply. And some of them now, I don't know about back then, but now you could do some eco casting. So you can record yourself at home, and that's basically your audition, and then you submit it to the casting director.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you have this website where you're kind of it's like your own business. So you put various roles. Are you filming yourself in, let's say, a cop, kind of a cop role, or a housewife role, whatever that is? Or you're making yourself look certain ways.
So yeah, it's
or a prostitute. You know what I mean?
It's definitely just in terms of that, taking on different looks.
I mean, I'm trying to just get a sense of it, because I guess there was a time where you would get a headshot on the back of the headshot, or you would have a headshot that had maybe 5 different pictures of you that looked all on. You were dressed in all these different roles, so they would get a sense that you could, maybe portray these different things or how you look doing them.
Yeah.
So now you're doing this on the website.
Yeah. So now I have stills of not necessarily. I'm not wearing a cop suit. I'm not wearing a nurse outfit or anything else. It's just different. I'm wearing different clothes that I don't wear every day, just so that maybe a casting director or an agent can see hey, she could probably play the girl next door, because you'll see stuff in my reel and you won't be able to see that from all the stuff that I've worked on.
So the reel is from this film.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that available if somebody wants to see it.
Yeah. It's just small snippets of the film and certain things that I've portrayed during the film.
Okay, so now you've got a reel too, right, Sly?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, but you have also another film that you've done recently. So why don't you tell us about the film that you worked on recently?
Yeah, definitely. It's called Trapped. I wrote it and directed it myself. Basically, what it's about is there's a lot of creative, young, talented minds in the South Bronx, and in most low poverty neighborhoods, but they easily get sucked into the trap of drugs and violence, and they never get to explore what their mind could. The capacity that their mind has is just so unlimited, but they never get to explore that because they're so into what's right in front of them and what they've basically known their whole life, And my film is basically, excuse me, to shed light that just because you're born in those kind of circumstances, it doesn't mean that that's what you have to give into, There's so much more that you can do with your life. There's so much beauty in this world to just succumb to just one neighborhood. Which, I know people my mom herself lived in the Bronx for 51 years already, and she has barely left, the city. And so I want to show people that there is just so much more to this world than just what's right in front of you. And if you just, take the time to really get to know yourself and what you truly like, and then pursue that things can be different. And all that in a nutshell. Basically, through my film, I try to show that. So the film follows one person, Sly Maldonado. I play the lead, and it follows him as he goes through this day of basically trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. He knows that his life is pretty much, depleted. Because of he was one of those kids who had a dream, and unfortunately grew up in a household where dreams were just completely smashed. And when he's put out in the streets, he faces the streets and he goes through all these life struggles. And I won't say the ending.
Oh, come on.
But I guess I made it so that it doesn't end well, that it's not a happy ending, because I want people to see what actually happens, you know, the truth that happens. And sometimes people hide that, but I didn't want to. As brutal as it may seem, I want people to see that, you know, the consequences of what happens if you don't try to expand, and if you do just settle for what's in front of you.
So you got to give me an exclusive and spill the beans, because now I want to know what's happened to him.
Well, I guess I can say it, maybe. I don't know if I should. It's not good. It's not good. It's just.
So something bad happens to him.
Something bad definitely happens to him after something good has happened to him.
It's
you
a
know.
roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, miracles do happen, and I want people to believe in that, and believe that there are people out there who are willing, you know, to love and help these gifted, talented people, but they don't see it themselves, you know. And I guess I just want people to see it, that we all are beautiful inside. We all have talents if we just dig deep within and search within, that so many things are available, you know, so much more things than to what we just think.
Well, of course, you know, a lot of people, you know, I didn't come from the best neighborhood. You know, a lot of things, unfortunate things, have happened along the way that might have been avoided from just the circumstance we all grew up in, or, you know, where we came from. But, you know, you've got to be able to kind of just take a moment to breathe and kind of let your mind wander and imagine something a little different for yourself.
Absolutely.
Then you can maybe achieve it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's kind of what you're saying about this as well.
Absolutely. This is exactly what my film is going to kind of portray. It's just like there's so much more if you just look for it, you know. Just go and look for it. Yeah.
So how long is the film?
It's about 25 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a short film. It's my first project ever that I've, you know, directed, that I've even written. And I'm super excited about it. We're editing now. We're going to enter the circuit soon. We're starting with Sundance and then South by Southwest, and we're just going to continue from there.
Look at you. Look at that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
I'll be looking for it.
Thank you.
I'll be looking forward to seeing it.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious about just the process, you know, just when you actually sat down. How long have you been working on this project?
I started writing it in August of last year, and it was basically just trial and error, getting it to some people. You know, they would read it, give me some feedback, go back and change some things up, and it was just like that all the way until we were supposed to shoot in December, and then we had multiple setbacks due to budget, and we just kept working on it as much as we could. I found my DP. Instantly, we decided to shoot on film. Actual film. We shot on the 416, which is amazing. And
so explain to my audience, like, what's the difference between doing that and shooting on, I guess, video?
Digital versus analog is what it
Okay.
basically is. You know, digital, you're working. Everything is very easily accessible. You know, you can easily transport the data to the computer and get working right away. And it's so much more in depth than just that, you know. But from what my knowledge is. And then, of course, film is basically actual analog film where you load an actual roll of film 400 feet onto the camera, and that's what rolls when you press the record button, and it prints onto that all these rolls. And you take that roll, you send it to a processing center, and they process it for you and all that stuff, and then you finally get it back, and then you're able to work.
So what's the difference for the consumer? Like, as I'm looking at it, what's going to be the difference in what I'm looking at?
Basically, film is all
Does
about
it have like
just
a
that
grittier?
raw.
Yeah.
It's very grainy.
Grainy?
Film is very grainy. Yeah, it just gives you a very raw, grainy look. I mean, anything, you know, color grading now, you can change what anything looks like nowadays. But film just brings this real, I don't know. It's just so exciting when I like.
What made you want to
guess
do that? What made you want to use actual film?
Me and my DP, we just basically. I mean, he brought the idea up when I first met him. From day one, I met him and I said, I told him about the project and he said, "Bro, we should definitely shoot that in film." And I was hooked. And I said, "Would that person be you? Would you want to do it?" And from day one, we just kicked it off and started working on it, and went through a lot of setbacks, but we came out on top to this day, and we're editing now and hoping for the best.
Well, that's terrific.
Yeah,
That's
thank
terrific. I mean, how did you go about fundraising for something like this, or trying to get the money to do it?
That was the hardest part. Was
I can imagine.
yeah, finding the money. But fortunately for me, I got lucky and came across some money, and I was able to finally pursue this film because I wasn't before. I was trying crowd fundraisers like Kickstarter, Indiegogo,
Right.
and nothing happened.
Well, no, I mean, you're really at the mercy of people. If they don't really like the idea that you have, people are not,
Absolutely.
it either happens or it doesn't happen for
Exactly.
you.
And it was just that was just one way that it wasn't supposed to happen. I was
Right.
supposed to just come across this money the way it did, and I was supposed to just shoot it the way I wanted to shoot it, with no ties, no strings attached. To where this money came from, no financiers who have control of what happens and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, I'm glad that it's just fully mine, that I can do whatever I like with it and go from there. Yeah.
So what's the next step? You said you're going to be submitting this to a couple of different.
Yeah, just a circuit, full circuit. I'm gonna go through, starting August 26th is the first submission.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So what's going to be the first place you're going to in August?
That's Sundance. We don't have to go anywhere yet.
So you're just sending it out to Sundance. You're not physically going out there.
Yeah, you have to send it out. If we get accepted, we get the official selection sticker. We get to put on the poster and just start from there. And we get our tickets and fly to Sundance, and we get accepted there and just enjoy the entire circuit.
Okay, so now I've heard, I guess, from another person's experience that I was talking to, that I guess there's a fee to participate in all of these various
Absolutely.
film festivals.
Yeah. Every festival, you have to pay a fee in order to get seen, not
Okay,
to
so
get
they'll
in it.
consider you.
Yeah, to get considered. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you don't know if you're. I mean, it's an investment,
Well, of course, if you want,
Yeah.
maybe you'll be considered, or they will consider it at some point, and get something will happen from it.
Absolutely.
So what else is going on in your career?
So I just shot a Nikon commercial, which is cool. They took me to Toronto, put me up out there, and just for about 2 days, and let me have fun one day, and then the next day, I was able to shoot. All they did was basically take us bowling, which was amazing, and they shot us bowling, and I got paid for that, and got to experience Toronto, and it's on a national commercial now. So, yeah, so that's definitely one thing. Another tonight, I'm actually going to be on The Perfect Murder. It's a TV show on ID Discovery. So
The
tonight,
Perfect Murder?
yeah,
Is that kind of a...
like the reenactment things.
Okay.
Except this one actually has dialogue. So it
Okay,
feels
so
like
you've got
we're
some stuff
actually
going on.
acting. Yeah, it feels good. It feels a lot of things have been working in my way. It's been going good. I mean, I've been like really just practicing, finding myself and trying to just find peace, within myself, and stop searching for these materials and other things that are not going to bring me happiness, because that
Exactly.
doesn't bring you happiness, To me, at least to me, I believe that happiness is found within, and that's what I'm working on. And ever since I've started that, I've just been living on, I've been vibrating so much more. My energies have been so high. I've been so happy, and a lot of good things have been coming my way. So I'm very happy that, I've been able to change my lifestyle, and it's worked out a lot for me. So
Well, it sounds like it. Well, that's terrific. You have some really great things happening right now,
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
So I guess this is a question for both of you. Do you find that there's like not that many roles for Hispanic people? Or do you find because we have our own, you have Univisa and you have so many different ways. I mean, you're both bilingual. I'm assuming you
Yeah.
both can speak Spanish, right?
I can
Okay.
hold the conversation.
I don't know. I can't speak Spanish, so.
Yeah, the thing with Hispanic roles is that yes, they are out there. Believe me, they are out there, but they are very stereotypical. You know, it's not who Hispanics are. You know, it's a stereotype, and they hire Spanish people just to play the stereotype. You know, and it takes away from us Spanish actors who want to become, you know, the leading role one day and things like that. It's like it's hard because that way hasn't been paved yet, because you won't really find a Latino man leading a feature film and a blockbuster feature film yet, you know? I think there was one that just recently came out. I can't remember the name of it, but what's his name?
Now that I'm, you know, I guess if we put our heads together on this, but I guess, what do you think, Jen?
I think the industry is definitely changing. I mean, one of the things that I'm always pegged on by friends is like, why aren't you in the Orange is the New Black? Like, the Latinos have taken over the prison. You should be one of them, you know? And it's obviously friends. They don't know how hard it is to actually get on a show like that. But to be honest, I feel the same. Like, they roles that are made for Hispanics, they're very stereotypical.
I mean, that show alone is very explainable. Like, it shows what I'm saying a lot.
Well, because all the women are in prison.
Yeah, but just, I mean, you can.
But it's not about you. That's not a role you would turn down either, because you never know what could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've had discussions with different like auditions and directors where they're like, we don't know what this character looks like yet. So we're putting like ethnically ambiguous because we want to know who can fill it. And seeing that when I go out to auditions is definitely like it gives you a sense of like pride, like awesome, the industry is maybe changing now, you know.
It's encouraging.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and I would think though, I mean, I guess depending on when you write something, I guess as you write something, you definitely know what you want that character to be, or what they're meant to be white, or they're meant to be black, or they're meant to be Spanish. And if everybody else in the cast is going to be black, white, or Spanish. So I guess you know that going in.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think now what they're like, and what's been working on for a long time now is, recently is the diversity thing, and like how, you know, we, like Hamilton is like perfect, you know, the Broadway musical, because it shows all these minorities playing, you know, these dominant roles that, I mean, none of these roles that they're playing were, you know, Hispanic or African American or Chinese. They were all, you know, Caucasian, things like that. And, you know, they're playing like presidents, George Hamilton, things like that. Because they're allowing minorities to play these roles makes such a huge statement, period, which is what made Lin-Manuel who he is today. Because
right, well, he did it on purpose.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. But I love that he's taking, you know, the minorities and actually allowing them to experience roles like these. You know, I guess I'm just babbling out of my.
Well, no, it's the truth. I guess you have to, as a writer, you have to. And I guess they discussed this at the Oscars this year. The whole issue of diversity. There have to be more roles written for Hispanic people.
Absolutely.
And not being somebody's maid, and not being the criminal in the story and things like that.
Absolutely.
So it's incumbent upon the writers to start doing that.
Yeah.
Or somebody to say to themselves, I'm going to write, as you have done, I'm going to write a story myself.
Yeah, I mean, they say now that the best way to get yourself out there is just producing your own work, and I took that and I just said, I have an opportunity, and why not? Even just for me, you know, it was a project that's very close to my life as well. So, because I grew up in the South Bronx and born and raised, and it was just something fun for me as well. And also I can use it for my acting and to get myself out there and things like that. And
right, because now you have two reels, right? And besides all the other things that you're working on, but you have When the Dust Settles too, which was an awesome role. Enjoyed doing that.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that role.
Thank you.
Now, I guess preparing for that role, or just tell our audience a little bit about that role.
The role was basically I had to play a homosexual who was married. I mean, I wouldn't call myself homosexual, but I was attracted to the same sex, and my wife.
Hi.
just didn't do it for me anymore. I wanted to explore men, and I used her weight as an excuse for that.
Okay.
And in terms of just being able to explore that side, I was just able to just put my mindset into being, we're all human beings, male or female, we're just human beings, It's not gonna, it doesn't make me gay or homosexual just because I'm kissing another man on film, And because of that, I was able to kind of just put myself in a mindset where this is just another human being, and I have to still act with love and care as if he was, my partner. And when I put myself in that position, I was able to just forget about all the things that immediately pop up in my head, especially growing up in the South Bronx. I had brothers who were always so
Homophobic.
Homophobic is the perfect word. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen homosexuals really, really beaten down and verbally. I haven't seen any physical beatdowns. I don't think I would be able to allow that as a human being. But I was able to just put myself into that kind of mentality of this is my partner. I love him. I care for him. This is who I want to be with. And when I was able to just break down all those extra walls that have been built, throughout my life, because
that was something that I got from that. Although I didn't think it was just a passing fancy, I thought there was more to the relationship. But that's for people to see when the dust settles.
Right.
So Jen, we'll give our audience just an idea of what you have planned for the future, things that you may have coming up.
So one of the things is when you're done with school, you kind of leave the safety net because you're practicing with classmates every week and whatnot. And I remember feeling like a fish out of water. Well, what do I do now? I was going to school, so I reached out to my instructor, and he's like, you need to start. And Sly told me this the same. He was like, you need to start going to casting directors workshops, and that way you expose yourself. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing. Having these one-on-ones, having these kind of reading on tape as well, and then they're able to see what you can bring to the table. And sometimes, and I've heard this from a lot of different actors, they'll use you. They'll see something from this workshop that they haven't seen in other things that they're casting for, and they'll grab you and they'll say I want you for this part. I think that's what happened to you in one of your roles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I'll be working on this summer. And students of mine, classmates of mine, they're working on their own projects as well. So they'll be casting me for different little roles, that they have going on. And that's what I'm struggling with. I'm okay, but what do I do now? So one of the things that I was working on this summer as well is building my own website, because you just want that exposure. You want to be out there. Mm-hmm. I've been growing my social network as well. It's a lot. It's branding yourself.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. So what I'd like you guys to do is to go ahead and tell our audience how they can get a hold of you. We'll start with you, Jen.
Sure. You guys can definitely visit my website. It's jenniferrojas.com, and there's my website, my email address. And on Instagram, you can find me at the handle jen.film. And of course, shoot out a message to me. I actually got my first fan mail on my website, which was so great.
Cool. And Sly, how can we reach you?
I am on IMDb. If you just search Sly Maldonado, you'll be able to find me there. Instagram, Sly Maldonado, and my email, casting Sly Maldonado. So
that's everything.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for coming today. This has been a great conversation, and
Absolutely.
I'm very happy to have you both here.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, to the Living Arts audience, as always, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can catch us on Facebook and see our previous shows on YouTube, and we will talk to you soon. Peace.